In 1966 I brought out a small booklet, Enigmas of the Plain, about mysteries in the Salisbury Plain area, and in it Doug Chaundy wrote, "When reading Men Among Mankind by Brinsley Le Poer Trench, I was interested and amazed to see the Somerset Zodiac discovered by Mrs. Maltwood. It made me wonder whether there was more to be found, and so I bought the Ordnance Survey map of the Salisbury Plain area. The map showed, among other places of historical interest, what were called long barrows. Although I know nothing of archaeology, I did know that these were some kind of prehistoric site, so I ignored all other historical sites and concentrated on the long barrows, placing an X on as many as I could find. When I connected the crosses up, I was excited to find that they coincided with some of the constellations near the North Pole of the heavens, namely Ursa Minor, Draco, Triangulum and Andromeda. I also found that where I could not find the long barrows to fit other parts of those unfinished constellations, in many cases towns had been built where the long barrows should have been. Fircad is the Middleton Down Barrow at Heytesbury. Cochab is West Hill Long Barrow at Heytesbury. Then there is the Nook Barrow, the Bowles Barrow, Imber Long Barrow, the Kill Barrow, a Long Barrow at Tillstead Down, and, representing Polaris, the pole star, the White Barrow at Tillstead. White Barrow is a large Neolithic long barrow just below the crest of Cope Hill Down on Salisbury Plain, just south of the village of Tillstead in Wiltshire. It's a scheduled monument and is owned by the National Trust. It was the first ancient monument to be purchased by the Trust. The Nook Barrow. All that's left of the Bowles Barrow to the right of the trees, surrounded by a tank track. In the constellation of Draco, Thuban, Alpha Draconis, is the long barrow at Boreham Down, Warminster. Edicish, Iota Draconis, is the Bratton long barrow, Westbury Hill, near the White Horse. Then there is Eta Draconis, which is Tinhead Hill long barrow, Tillstead. Then there is the East Down Long Barrow, Tillstead, the L Barrow, and Gibbet Knoll, Market Lavington. Thuban was the pole star from 3942 BC to 1793 BC, during the creation of some of Egypt's largest pyramids. Bratton Long Barrow, representing Edicish, is at Westbury Hill near the White Horse. The Tinhead Hill Long Barrow, Tillstead, representing Eta Draconis. The East Down Long Barrow, Tillstead. The L Barrow. Andromeda. The Weather Hill Long Barrow. The Giant's Grave, Milton Hill. The Fairmile Down Long Barrow, and the Tow Barrow, Wexcombe Down. It is also marked on the map, is this the Andromeda Galaxy, pointing to a hill to the north. The Giant's Grave Long Barrow, Milton Hill. The Fairmile Down Long Barrow. The Tow Barrow, Wexcombe Down. Part of Triangulum, the Triangle. The Brigmaston Field Long Barrow. The South Tidworth Long Barrow. Gary Biltcliffe found that when the stars of the constellation Cygnus were placed over the street map of Stratford-on-Avon, they fell on places significantly concerned with Shakespeare. Holy Trinity Church, where he was buried, the Chapel of the Guild of the Holy Cross, the Other Place Theatre, founded by Buzz Goodbody to bring Shakespeare to a wider audience, the Swan Theatre and the old town square of Stratford. Shakespeare's birthplace is not on one of the official stars of Cygnus, but looking at the constellation in the sky, there is a star in that position.
When we were following Ellen from the church through that unusual feature, she passes through the corner of this rotunda building here, and then crosses the road through this other place, theatre, which is kind of like a metal construction made of iron, which was at the time a cheap way of building a theatre. And then it carries on to the Guild of the Holy Cross Chapel. And years later I realised that with the cross of Cygnus laid over Stratford, with the Guild Chapel in the middle and the church at the bottom, the other star that forms the cross of Cygnus in between fell upon the other place theatre. So we had a look at the significance of that, and it was built with the inspiration of this lady here. She died young. We'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah.
But it was her idea to build a theatre for the ordinary people, because the elitism of the Royal Shakespeare Theatre was very strong in those days, and only the wealthy could really go and enjoy the theatre. The ordinary people just couldn't afford to go. So Buzz Goodbody built a theatre for the common people to give them Shakespeare's knowledge. So in a way she was like continuing with the Cygnus energy. And a goddess in her own right.
Because not only did she create this wonderful theatre, she was a woman at a time when really the theatre was still dominated by men in the hierarchy, in the management. And so she became a producer and director and a playwright. They called it the Courtyard Theatre for a time, and everybody had to go there. And now it's reopened here. This closed, but now it's reopened as an exhibition place. Apparently, they obviously do a lot of rehearsals here. People can come in and engage with theatre world, and there's a lovely cafe in there as well.
The theatre here is one of the stars of Cygnus, which if you overlay it over Stratford's sacred site, having the church and the Guild Chapel as the two main stars. The Guild Chapel in the middle of the Swan, you see the Swan here, the wings and the head being
Holy Church.
The other star, the cross here, falls exactly on the round rotunda of the theatre there, and that represents, if you like, the original Baroque theatre in London, where the original plays were performed. Originally it stood as a round rotunda, and it was added to, and it's called the Swan Theatre.
And for those who love that connection with Cygnus, we are at the very centre of the Cygnus layout that's overlaid on the tower.
Centre of the cross.
Very centre of the body of the swan. The symbolism in these pictures of the cross.
So if anybody's confused what they're looking at here, that's the neck of the head of the swan, the neck, the two wings and the tail. Deneb is in the tail. And Deneb is the most important, it's the largest star in the constellation, and that falls exactly on the old town square. And the old town square used to be a circular area, that we'll go and look at later on, because it became ignored by local people. They turned it into a kind of horrendous 1970s shopping area.
Which you'll see.
And they built a new town square in Victorian times further up. So they took away the heart of Stratford in some ways. We discovered a lot of the old towns that were the most prosperous, the ones that kept their central focal point. Those who had moved their centres and kind of done away with the quartering. And each quarter of that city had certain qualities where certain people were living in.
The Old Town Square.
The head star, the major star, the dented swan figure, which is in the tail of the swan, dented, falls upon the Old Town Square exactly on this plan that the Cloptons obviously worked out to sort of mirror as above, so below. The Old Town Square was the old heart of Stratford, where people would meet, congregate, trade, public announcements. All those things happened in the town square. And here was an old Elizabethan town square.
Marked by a cross.
Marked by a cross in the middle, and possibly a well, which we often found in all the centres of all the layouts. Well, this, unfortunately, is since they've taken the square away and replaced it with a Victorian hideous square further up here. Stratford as a town has done well out of Shakespeare, but the actual town itself hasn't prospered. It's only profited from Shakespeare's trade. But the actual local shops have not done well here. And this place here was badly designed. And everybody who rented a shop in this Old Town Square fell on hard times. And the first time we dowsed it going through here, we felt our energies quite small. There was lots of drunks and down and outs here in the evening. It was kind of a dark centre of Stratford. So its heart centre became a dark centre. So this was Shakespeare's birthplace. But was it? I mean, there's no actual evidence or written evidence that this was Shakespeare's birthplace. It was just always known as Shakespeare's birthplace as local tradition. So it maybe had something to do with the Cloptons as well, because they had all this estate. Possibly it might have something to do with a Clopton house, of which, Shakespeare was a fabrication of the Cloptons. Or they used a child of one of the Grand Masters in Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, as a figurehead to front their stories. Yeah, it's their propaganda in some ways. Every single point of the stars of Cygnus has a place of power, including these three stars here, which fall exactly. The end star falls upon the Swan's nesting ground, which is across the bridge in no man's land. It's a little island where all the swans seem to congregate and give birth, and that falls upon the last star of the Swan, where the swans give birth. It's actually perfect. Anybody wants to try it?
That's where they got quite a big car parking here.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Where people come into that town.
It's just the other side of the straight ford, by the straight ford across the Clopton Bridge. But yeah, just to show you that's Swan Island, where all the swans give birth, where the heron is. This right by the ford.
Yes.
Because yesterday afternoon there was a little park here, and there were massive Indian people.
Andrew May has found that sacred sites in the West Country seem to map the constellation of Aquarius. Alpha Aquarii is Wells Cathedral, and there is also Warminster and Stonehenge. Wirial Hill, Glastonbury, Ilchester, the Roman Lindinis, Ilminster, the Minster is modelled on Wells Cathedral, Pilsdon Pen, the highest point in Dorset, Iron Age hill fort, the Cerne Abbas Giant, and Whitchurch Canonicorum, a pilgrimage site. Wells Cathedral, on the site of a Saxon cathedral, by an ancient sacred spring. St Denis Church, Warminster, on the site of a 10th century Saxon church, said to be on the site of a pre-Christian grove. Stonehenge, Wiriol Hill, Glastonbury, where Joseph of Arimathea is said to have planted his staff, which became the Holy Thorn. The 13th century church of St Mary Major, Ilchester, built within the walls of the Roman town of Llandinis. 15th century church of St Mary, Ilminster, known as the Minster. Its design is based on that of Wells Cathedral. Pilsden Pen Iron Age hill fort, the highest point in Dorset. The Cerne Abbas Giant. The Church of St Candida and Holy Cross at Whitchurch Canonicorum in Dorset is the only church to survive the Reformation with its relics intact, except those of Edward the Confessor at Westminster Abbey, and it's thus become a place of pilgrimage, although nothing is known of the saint involved. Doug Chaundy also made another discovery, which is reported in Enigmas of the Plain. He writes, "Between the White Horse at Oldbury Castle and the one or near Pewsey Hill, there is another White Horse at Milk Hill. The amazing thing is that these white horses are spaced 5.5 miles apart. That is, from Oldbury Castle to Milk Hill is 5.5 miles, and also from Milk Hill to Pewsey Hill is the same distance. The three sites are in alignment. 18.5 miles roughly northwest of Milk Hill Horse, there is the famous Uffington White Horse. If these points are connected, a triangle is formed, which is so symmetrical it seems it could only have been formed by a high standard of technology. Apart from the white horses mentioned above, there is one 6.5 miles north-east of Oldbury Horse, on the Oldbury-Uffington line. It's near Prestute Down. The resulting diagram is perfectly symmetrical. There is no white horse at the point marked by the arrow, but there is a large wood, and it's my belief that there was once a white horse there. The technology of the builders of this amazing white horse triangle speaks for itself. It may be of interest here to point out that the Uffington-Prestute Down line points straight to the centre of the Glastonbury Temple of the Stars discovered by Mrs. Maltwood.